Hello, this is going to be a tutorial video on how to install the anti-reversal latch compression spring mod that we've developed. So the way that the anti-reversal latch typically works on an airsoft gun is you have this latch and you have this little elbow spring. And what tends to happen is over time the elbow spring wears out and they tend to snap. Usually right here at this little hook that actually holds onto the latch, and it can cause gearbox failure because the anti-reversal latch is not engaging the bevel gear properly, and because you have a little piece of metal floating around your gearbox which can jam it up. So what we've come up with is this 3D printed bracket that slides on your anti-reversal latch like this, okay? And it'll seat in like this, and then we use a compression spring. This is actually the version 2 selector plate spring from a gearbox. It's designed to use these because we were able to buy a ton of them in bulk, and some people might just have them lying around. But essentially, what happens is this 3D printed bracket has a slot that allows the spring to seat inside of it, like so. And then what you end up doing is you end up making a spring guide of sorts onto this part of the gearbox shell that will prevent the spring from slipping out to the side. So our spring guide is actually going to be a 3mm metric M2 set screw. So in order to install this, what you'll need to do is take a 1.5mm drill bit. We're going to drill a hole here, and then we're going to tap it with a metric M2 tap. So what we're going to do, once we have this, we put it into the gearbox. And then we see where that spring is going to sit and line it up with that part of the gearbox shell to see where we need to drill the hole. So it's going to be just off the edge right here and about 2mm down. So you take your 1.5mm drill bit, drill through, remove the drill bit, put the tap in, then we can use some compressed air. Clean that up a little bit. See how it lines up? Looks like it lines up pretty well. So what we do then, you can use thread locker or glue. I actually just use glue because it sets faster. But what I do is I put a little bit of glue. Well, actually, I clean that up first. Deburr it a little bit. Well, I'm sorry, not deburr, because I'm not using a deburring tool. I just clean off some of the flashing a bit. I put some glue into the hole that I just threaded, and then I stick my 3mm metric M2 set screw inside. So that's going to act as my spring guide. I'm going to use some acetone to clean off the excess glue. And we are going to let that sit for just a moment. These selector springs are usually a little bit too long, so what I like to do is I just take a set of pliers with wire cutters on them, and I cut about 1/3 off one end, and that's usually close enough to the right length. And then optionally, once you cut it, you can sort of flatten the end a little bit. You have to be careful though. It's easy to poke yourself with this spring once it's cut because it's kind of sharp, and the wire is kind of small. So basically all you do, you stick one end on the screw, you close the anti-reversal latch. Whoops. I'm actually going to crimp this spring a little bit so that it can grab onto the set screw that is acting like the spring guide a little bit. It'll make it a little easier. Whoops. There we go. So now it stays on more easily. I just close the anti-reverse latch on it. And then I'm going to stick my bevel gear in there to see what the tension is like. Seems pretty good actually. It's a little bit long, and it's sorry, the spring is a little bit long. It's applying a little bit more force than I would like, but it is working quite well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off. I'm going to cut off one more coil because I think that that's all I really need to do to get it to the length that I want. Remove that coil, crimp it a little bit, and then fit that. Whoops, fit that onto our little spring guide thingy. There we go. Perfect. Now I have very light pressure on the bevel gear. It catches every time, and as you can see, the anti-reverse latch is no longer about to fly out every time you touch it. And that's it. That's the anti-reverse latch compression spring mod. It should make your gearbox a lot more reliable because you don't have to worry about the anti-reverse latch failing. When you put the gearbox back together, you proceed as normal. This tends to not get in the way of anything, and it honestly just makes it a lot easier to put back together as well because you're not worrying about the anti-reverse latch trying to fly around as you're closing the gearbox. So yeah, hopefully installation didn't seem too complicated. If you need any help or anything like that, please reach out to us. We'll be glad to help you out. We're going to be selling these the 3D printed compression spring brackets as well as the springs, and then we can give you the part number on McMaster-Carr or something to buy the taps. Sorry, the drill bits and the tap required for this mod. Thanks for watching.